So how come healthcare is a disaster? Here's why. This is a remote. It's got like 100 buttons. But I only use the power and the channel arrow. I don't know what the other buttons do. And I know that if I hit the wrong one, it's all over. I'm helpless. That's healthcare. It's poorly designed, overly complicated, one size fits all. It's so convoluted. It's manual, needs a manual, which needs a call center, which needs a help desk. Why is that? Because like this remote, it's badly designed. If it were a car, ObamaCare would have been recalled in hours. You'd be sitting on the steering wheel, the windshield made of marshmallows. Remember that website launch? It made Olestra look good, and Olestra caused diarrhea.
Oh my God.
But that website was the door to the ObamaCare building, and you couldn't even get inside it. What does that say? It says that bureaucracy fails because it designs for the product and not for you. And the product fails because no human can figure out how to use it. So President Obama took something as vital as health, cordoned it off like a crime scene, and left it to a bunch of chuckleheads. The wrong people are handling it, and it's time to get it out of their hands and into those who understand humans. Every single day, doctors and business types email us with solutions. They understand functionality and simplicity so people can use a service minus all the anxiety. A cell phone is way more complex than a financial product, but a 10-year-old can master it because a successful product fits you, not the reverse. So if President Trump truly wants to change things, here's his chance. Wrestle this problem away from politicians and ideologues and let someone else have a shot. Could it possibly be any worse? So, Dana, I was talking about this with you last night over cocktails.
How wasn't I invited?
In separate apartments.
Yes.
Okay.
You told me that Newt Gingrich tried this idea of getting the public involved in terms of balancing the budget.
Yep.
How did that work out?
So it was in the 1990s, and the balanced budget amendment was a big thing for a long time. Republicans ran on it. In fact, Bill Clinton was even like, oh, I'm kind of for that. But it's really hard. And one of the things that Newt Gingrich had the idea to do was to go out into the communities. They picked several different cities, and then you could sign up. And my dad actually did one of these in Denver. And basically you went with let's say there was 10 tables of 5 people. You were given a number saying, this is the number that we need to get to. How would you balance this budget?
Right.
And then the 5 of them would try to work it out, and they would try to come up with solutions. It basically it's not like they had any skin in the game except that they were concerned citizens and that they wanted to participate.
And so now, with the internet, if you did the same thing, you could essentially...
You could crowdsource.
You could crowdsource that, and then you'd create some kind of algorithm that finds the best way to solve these problems and create financial products, which is what health insurance is. One, my problem is that we no longer have small government versus big government. The Dems create a program, and the Republicans just stir the pot until the Dems are back in power. We don't have a small government party anymore, right. So we need a third way.
Well, no, it seems to me it's a division within the Republican Party. People like Paul Ryan do believe in small government doing away with safety net programs, entitlement programs, or at least reducing their scope, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the like. It's not very popular with rank-and-file Republicans, though. Guess what? They're the people that elected Donald Trump. They're populist Republicans. If they have a program that's serving their needs, they don't want to do away with it. Yeah. Oh, no, not at all. So what you see here, to me, is evidence, Greg, of people who say all kinds of things on the campaign trail, make all kinds of promises, know they'll never have to live up to it, but the minute you have Republicans in control of the House, Senate, and White House, oh, what, gee, you guys, for 7 years you've been saying you're going to do away with it? Let's see your plan. And guess what? Today we learn, Greg, it's been a scam. This is a scam of the highest caliber perpetrated on the Republican Party.
Do you agree, Kimberly?
Well, perhaps I don't. But this is what I do agree with. My point. So what I think is that the Republicans, and Newt talked about this, they really need to get it together because, yes, health care is something that's very important, but right now this isn't like winning. This isn't like driving the train. So, yes, they need to focus on that and get it done because they made a big deal about it and they raised a lot of money, okay, with people across the country promising this. But now what have you done for me lately, okay? So to me, you've got to be honest and straightforward. It's an integrity issue with respect to the party, and a reckoning's going to come in 2018. So the other thing that they need to do is the tax cuts. And I do agree with Newt that it needs to be retroactive to January 1st, because if they do not, and I've said this many times on the show, have economic growth, they are in huge trouble for these midterm elections, and they could lose one of those houses. And if you think the Russia thing, collusion, psychoness is crazy now, wait till if they have the House back and they're able to actually put forward all of this craziness of impeachment, et cetera, it's going to be a big disaster. He's not going to be able to accomplish anything. However, if the job numbers, the economy, tax cuts, and all of that, and you have a pro-growth economy, that will resonate with people. Even people who are undecided or might not have been super happy with President Trump personally, they will like this kind of positive economic affirmation, and it will win the day for him.
What do you think, Jesse? What needs to be done now?
Focus
your laser-like intelligence on this problem.
Okay, this is going to take a long time. I don't think you can drain the swamp when members of your own party are plugging the hole. You have 3 senators from Alaska, Maine, and West Virginia. They're independent-minded senators. They come from poor states. They got hooked on the Medicaid money, and they needed that Medicaid money. They're worried about re-election. I understand they're not robots. They have, their concerns to look after. But McConnell couldn't close a deal with them. McConnell's not a closer. McConnell couldn't get it done. I don't know why they came out of the gate with Obamacare repeal, especially knowing they had no plan in place that anybody could have coalesced around. It doesn't make sense to me. The Republican Party couldn't even stay on message. They weren't even talking about increasing competition or reducing premiums. They were running away from headlines about coverage. When you're worried about coverage, you're fighting on the Democrats' turf. If you want to go bold, go bold. Fight on your principles. Fight on free market reforms. Fight on choice. They didn't do that. They tried to split the baby, and they failed. I agree with KG. Should have gone with tax relief. Should have even gone with infrastructure. That would have really peeled off blue state Democrats, union guys. They didn't do that. I'm going to make a point, too, that's going to offend a lot of people. Congressmen and senators aren't smart. They're not smart people. They're good at winning elections, but they don't know anything about policy. Their staffs know more about policy than they do. Lobbyists run circles around them. This is why we need term limits, because these people get in there and they don't do anything. They're not results-oriented. They just care about headlines, and they run scared.
I was saying go, laser, go. I was all for your intellect until you said that all the politicians are dumb, and you blamed them, not Donald Trump. Donald Trump, by the way, the reason
Donald Trump
first,
did not have his heart in health care. I will admit that. But at the same time, he allowed Ryan and McConnell free reign, and what do we have for it? Nothing, and it's almost over.
Donald Trump said right at the start, I'm going to repeal Obamacare, and then talked about repeal, replace Obamacare. He said he wasn't going to do anything with the entitlement programs, right? Nothing to Social Security, nothing to Medicare, nothing to Medicaid. But then, guess what? CBO said this latest bill was going to cost 32 million people coverage, and you say don't worry about coverage. Those dumb politicians you're picking on, guess what? They represent real people who need real health care.
Most of those people aren't going to have coverage because you're not forcing them to buy a plan. And I understand that. And if Republicans can say that we're going to give you a choice and we're going to have cheaper plans that you can choose from, and we're not going to slap a tax on you so you have to buy a plan that covers stuff you don't need, that's an argument to make. They didn't make that argument, and now what do they have? They have nothing.
But, problem. Can I just go back, Dana, to the point of the monologue, which is there a third way? There are a lot of public intellectuals out there that are thinking about this stuff. I always bring up Scott Adams. He always comes up with these innovative ways of dealing with this stuff. One of them is actually trying health products out on Silicon Valley because they can deal with the risk. Instead of trying it out on the poor, try it out on the rich. It's an interesting idea. How are people who write to us every day, how do their ideas get to the people that matter? So that I tend to agree with Jesse. I don't think these...
It's a call center.
Yeah, there needs to be a call center. But there's no way, I think the politicians don't have the good ideas.
They don't.
They don't.
Well, the other thing is that it's extremely easy to give money away and a program away, and it's almost impossible to pull it back. And that's what you have in these states. We do have a problem that there are many low-income people in the country that worry every day when they wake up that if they get ill or hurt on the job, that they are basically going to go bankrupt and that their kids are going to have to basically forego college. I mean, all of that financial anxiety is tied up in our health care debate.
So true.
Clearly, these members of Congress have listened, at least the three that you mentioned, and there are also 3 women. They're listening to their constituents, and they're responding to that. So I guess what I would say is more communication is better. I think the president is smart to have tomorrow all the Republican senators are coming to him. They also know that they're going to have to vote on, McConnell said early next week, it'll probably be Tuesday, and they're going to have to put up or shut up on the repeal part of it. But to your point, then how do you get to the replacement? That gap, I'm not exactly sure how they do it. You know, they are so far apart. When Rand Paul initially said he couldn't support it at all, Mike Lee from Utah says, well, I can't support it if the tax cuts are in. Take the tax cuts out. And then everybody's against it. And I don't know how you actually try to get all of those people in a room when you have to get 50 votes.
Kimberly,
So true.
the first thing you have to do is create products that can compete. And then you end up with sites like Trivago or TripAdvisor
Kayak.
Kayak that sift through the choices. It is now easier to fly to Tibet than it is to cast an ankle. To just go and set up someplace where you can fix an ankle. But you could, in 2 hours, you can book an entire trip.
You're so obsessed with the Trivago guy.
Well,
he's
you
doing
know,
well, by the way. He's making a lot more commercials.
He's changed up his wardrobe.
Yeah.
Again, competition forced him to
But
clean
this
up
is the
his
point.
act.
You're making the point that actually some of the people that have conscientious objections to the way that the health care bill is structured is based on the fact that it should be based on free market, based in, and grounded in capitalism, that having that healthy bit of competition and also being able to purchase across state lines actually makes it better for the consumer. So that if you're in one state, you're not at a disadvantage compared to someone who has exchanges in another state that has multiple options to be able to do it. Unless you have somebody competing for your slice of the pie, they're going to set the standard and have a monopoly on it, which essentially is going to drive up the prices and only benefits the health care companies, the insurers. So what about something a little bit more patient-centered and focused to say, what can I do for the average Joe sitting across from me, don't take it personally,
that's all right,
to make sure
that
he has the same advantages and opportunities for his family to use his dollars to move forward as Ms. Perino in the next state.
Well, you know what? Let me just quickly say,
level the playing
let me
field.
just say, speaking for the majority of Americans, we've heard of such a plan. It's called ObamaCare. And guess what?
What are you talking about?
60% of Americans now say that's what's going on with the healthcare system is the responsibility of Republicans. And as we saw today, they're not doing a good job.
Thank you, media. All right, ahead.